The Carbon design system has undergone 11 major releases since it was first introduced back in 2016. The most significant of those were the last two. Version 10 was a landmark release. By adopting it, teams aligned around IBM's strategic software and brand collaboration, the IBM design language. It was an incredible undertaking for product teams that previously weren't using Carbon and tested the relationships between design and engineering. Fast forward to 2022, where we released V11, the latest version of Carbon was very much a quality of life improvement for makers. Semantic tokens, more accessible components, faster build times, to name a few benefits. However, this came at a cost for teams when adopting version 11. Our migration experience didn't meet the expectations of the developers we built it for, saddling them with a hefty bit of debt during their upgrade. Since then, we've made dramatic shifts in how we are preparing for our next major release, and I want to share 3 of those with you now. This isn't anything new necessarily. Carbon has been using feature flags since 2021. What's new, however, is our strategy and how we communicate these changes to makers. In our component overview section on our website, you'll see the feature flags tab. From here, you'll get a bird's eye view of the breaking changes that we've made to existing components. You can also drill down on those components and see the applicable design changes side by side. Adopting V12 feature flags now allows you to incrementally opt into these changes, making your eventual transition to our next major even smoother. Whether you're a designer creating a prototype in Figma or a developer reading up on our usage documentation, we have you covered for what's to come when using Carbon. You might be asking yourself, this is great, Scott, but how stable are these feature flags? Didn't they used to be in the experimental section of your Storybook? You're right. Our Storybook wasn't set up to make it easy to discover or talk about the new exciting features coming to Carbon. If anything, they were sort of buried in our experimental section, which was a disservice to its importance and signaling to makers its readiness. Now, under a given component, you'll find a feature flag section at the bottom. In this section, you'll see a collection of stories that showcase how the components will work using the new enhancement, along with a flag details section that gives you instructions on how to implement the flag. Rest assured that every flag marked with Enable V12 has been rigorously tested, including end-to-end, accessibility, and unit testing. When you see this designation, know that we're confident that the change we're making is meeting our definition of done. Speaking of the definition of done, Carbon has been using code mods since the release of version 11. They enable developers to quickly run a command in their IDE that makes short work of any changes needed by scanning your project, identifying, and then fixing areas in your code based on a given breaking change. When we released V11, our code mods were tucked away in our developer documentation on GitHub, and in a couple cases, incomplete. We have since fixed that, and moving forward, anytime we make a breaking change in a component, we'll be making a code mod as part of our definition of done, where appropriate. These automations will be front and center when we talk about any future migration process. There you have it. Feature flag documentation on our website, our Storybook, along with code mods being added to our definition of done. 3 things that are going to make your next migration experience smoother than ever. Now, if you've made it this far, you're probably curious if I'm going to make some announcement for V12. No, not at this time. But I do want to start having a conversation with you, especially our engineering community. What are you expecting to see or experience in our next major release? What was challenging about our last release that we should avoid next time? As a dependency in your application's toolchain, we empathize and understand taking on a new major release comes with a certain amount of debt. My intention is to have Carbon's next release be the least disruptive migration yet, while continuing to deliver the design consistency, accessibility, and reusable assets that you've come to depend on and value every day. I look forward to hearing from you.